start, I've got no agenda here other than I've kind of redone my whole signal chain. I've done a lot of stuff on the back end as well. So I just want to kind of see, more than anything, I'm trying to use the lowest buffer setting possible to see how short I can get the latency, even though I'm listening direct right now. Let me see how much lag I'm getting here. Test. Oh, actually not too bad, but enough to throw me off. Yeah, again, in any case, I'm just going to goof around here, see what I got going on. Playing my Gretsch today, Electromatic. Couldn't tell you the number, sorry. They couldn't just keep it a simple thing, but really loving the way this guitar sounds with this particular setup. Seasons must be changing. This guitar is perpetually wanting to go sharp on me. And yes, I know there's a Bigsby on there, but it's usually pretty stable. Especially since I tuned this thing just before I went live. And it's already gone sharp. All right, just for fun, I haven't done this. Just kind of tested my Unity game for the compressor, but that's about where I like it. It's a little bit of a boost. So we got everything off here. The count to 5 I have on, but there's no loop in it, only because you get a little boost out of it. In fact, I'll turn it off. Just adds a little something. Okay. All right, so the blooper here, I'm just finding I like using it more of a pitch shifter rather than a looper. So I've had an empty loop going here. I've got the loops fading out. Let's bring some volume in here. Usually about there is good. Which, if I use the filter right, it can almost sound like a electric piano in the background. All right, so one of the things I've been listening for here is any phase issues I might have. Right now there's no stereo effects on, even though I'm coming into 2 channels on the SSL, but I just switched it to mono, and I'm not really losing any information there, at least not yet. We'll see what happens once I start adding the modulation in. Remember also, because I'm about to get to the Dimension C here, the Dimension C is not a chorus. It's a kind of modulator, but it's not a chorus. Whenever I put it on, I think it adds too much flavor, but then when I take it off, you kind of miss something. So this setting, which is the Dimension C side, 1 and 4 both selected at the same time, is pretty good. So let's add that in. All right, let's see if I'm losing any info. All right, that's what I get for not playing this guitar too much. I think by nature you lose a little low end on this thing. This thing being the Dimension C. This is stereo. I don't know if I'm just monitoring it, by the way. It might be might be going to the outputs. I'm curious about that too. All right, so the layers. The layers is instantly pretty damn cool. And I'll tell you the thing I like the best about the layers so far is it made me realize that I could switch the input on the Joshua to stereo. I actually wasn't using this Joshua for quite a while because I thought it was mono input only. And I've said before in previous videos that if there's somewhere in the documentation where it says you can internally switch it to stereo input, I'm happy to have missed it, because the layers, there's a similar format for MXR, and now that I've got this thing with stereo input, I can put it where I want it in the signal chain, and I can use stuff in front of it that's stereo already, which is fantastic. So the layers, it's actually a pretty straightforward pedal. The secondary functions are maybe more interesting than the top level functions. The attack and decay and the threshold and the mix, those are all things that you just dial in and kind of forget them. But the way modulation sends each note, kind of auto panning, and then the diffusion, which, to be honest, I don't really like the diffusion, at least not for this current setup. It's still nice to be able to control those things. Single, not interested in it. I'm still using all three. And then the sub-octave, I don't know if you can see it here. I don't know if I'm going to mess up my camera angle here. On the 6, if you look, I've got the EQs in. I've got a lot of bass and treble rolled off. Now, that's not because I had too much bass or treble. It's because I wanted to accentuate the mids. So even though I don't have a mid EQ control on the console here, by lowering the bass and lowering the treble, you're able to accentuate the mids in the way you want. And it was kind of essential that with the sub-octave I did that, because the sub-octave was really muddy, at least initially in the mix, but I think I've got it together. So let's see if we can make some noise. Definitely got to be careful with that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the blooper here for a minute. Instead of one long fading loop, which, as you can hear, is getting a little cacophonous, I think I'm going to clear that, which on the blooper, you just hit both buttons. And if you're curious on the blooper at all, let me turn this camera back a little bit. Sorry, I don't have the best camera set up here. Call it lo-fi. The two buttons on the bottom just turn on the modifiers. So the left button obviously turns on this modifier, the right button turns on this one. And right now I've got both modifiers on. This side is, let me see if I can make some. Let me tap something in here. I got to turn on the delay. 1 second. So it's the smooth pitch shifting, which I wish they would have put the stepped pitch shifting on this side so you could use the filter and the stepped pitch shifting. But in any case, if you're really trying to dial in the spot, man, you gotta spend a little while trying to tune it, which I'm not going to today. See if I can tap that in a little better than I did. Try and do a full bar, whole note. I just opened the windows today because the weather is nice for once. Love having the fresh air. But a big old hollow body with a Bixby and changing humidity from the windows being open is a bad combo. Typically, this guitar is pretty stable, though. All right. Now we're on to the Joshua. I know there's a secondary function here. I don't feel like going into it right now, but instead of just having a quarter note on one side, I wouldn't mind experimenting with having something other than a quarter note on one side. Not much to do with the Joshua. I just love the way it sounds. Just turn it on and it's good. Even with a little bit of pitch shifting in there, it just blends in real nice. You notice it, but things are fuller as a result. So, which brings me to the Mood Mark II, okay? So, personally, I don't think the Mood's happiest place is at the end of the chain like this. I only have one other, I guess the Zoya kind of counts. I do have the Zoya that I could do stereo reverbs on. I also have the Cloudburst, which I actually like a lot. However, the ensemble effect supposedly has a function where you can adjust the volume of it in the middle position, but I'll be damned if I can get it to work, and I'm sick of messing with it. That's why it's off the board right now. I do really like that reverb. The Mood, however, early chain, the reverb doesn't make much sense, so that's what it's doing here right now. I'm kind of experimenting with it. I honestly, if this doesn't work, I don't know what reverb I'm going to try. Just using a little bit of reverb on the Dream I do have a plug-in reverb that I like a lot too. However, because of the latency of signal going back and forth to the computer, I can't get it. And again, today is an experiment to see if this live stream has issues, but based on my buffer size. But it's the Valhalla Supermassive, and there's a lot of great reverbs in there. It sounds really fantastic. I'd have to just pick a sound I like and then monitor direct, which means I won't be able to hear it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here. You know, I like the Mood a lot. There's always some sort of use for it, even if you just want to make random noises. But right now, as you can see, I've got the clock turned all the way up because I want the highest resolution reverb. And then I've got the right side on stretch mode, and I'm processing the input and the looper channel with the reverb. So let's just see what we got. Let's add in the stretch mode here, see what we get. So I've got it on latching on the right side, and then I have it set to slowly fade. You can change the balance between the left and the right side to quiet one side down if you want to, just kind of do a little internal mix. Right now I do have it at even. Normally I have the right side mixed down, but at this resolution the sample size is much smaller. So I don't think it's as intrusive as when I have it maybe at a lower setting, you know, way down here. See how it swells in a lot more? That particular instance, I'd probably get in there and change the balance heavier towards the left side, just so it doesn't get in the way. Kind of cool though, having the lowest resolution. With the original Mood, you couldn't do that because there's so much noise and craziness. There's no point in going that low with it. Kind of interesting though. I think you can randomly modulate the clock on here, which might be a lot of fun. I'm going for a little more of a normal sound this time around though. Now when it comes to interface, I know I'm not all the way to the end of my signal chain yet, but when it comes to interface, I have actually a Universal Audio Volt 275 and a 475P. those are thicker and rounder sounding interfaces, and that's with or without the compression and vintage mode stuff turned on. But I like the SSL better because it's more neutral and more open sounding. My first impression is to say it has more headroom, but I don't know if it's more headroom. It's just clearer sounding. Now, with the Dimension C, however, because I don't want to say it takes away that low end, but it really tames that low end, I'm tempted to try the Volt 275 here in place of the SSL2. I do like being able to blend, though, between, and I get about here, and I'm already, what is that, 10 o'clock, and I'm already getting slapback echo with the latency. So it's all or none, even though you can blend it, like, I don't know, maybe right here. And why would you want to monitor with only that much back end signal anyway? It just sounds like I have a little reverb on when I do that, which is kind of irritating. If I go all the way, I can hear the back end, so I probably only use it in this instance. See, it's already messing me up talking with the little bit of delay in there, but at least I can monitor the signal post my finalization plugin. Yeah, it's hard to talk through that. That's weird. But I'm tempted. This is kind of, I think, the sound I'm going to mess with for a while, though. Not too resonant. I was having issues with the tone being too resonant there, especially with the Dimension C in there. The Dimension C kind of changes the whole everything. Gives you more of that. Almost got that 80s Tron or Blade Runner thing going on. Actually, this mood reverb on the highest clock setting sounds pretty natural to me. Doesn't get too dense. A little too present, maybe. All right, let's move on to the Dream now. This whole spot has really the cause of every change you've seen here. I've got the what are these things called? They're not NS10s. It's the little baby looking NS10s from Yamaha. I'm coming through some proper small studio monitors here. I've got the SSL6. I've got the interface into my computer instead of just trying to go into my iPhone. It's because I'm not miking my amp here sitting behind me. Well, I guess you can't really see it, but or any of my amps. I have a bunch of amps. Really fighting with this whole idea of recording direct. They all sound good. I got no problem with the way any of them sound, but it does not have even my Shure makes a mic that plugs into an iPhone called a MV88. Is it called the MV88? It's a little stereo mic that actually sounds really great, and I did a lot of my early recordings for this channel on that thing, on my 2 amp setup, on my 3 amp setup, or even just on a single amp setup. And I'm sorry, we're not there yet. These amp modelers and the IRs, blah blah blah, nope, not there yet. They sound great, but they do not sound the same. And as you can see, I've gone at great lengths to see how much I can work on my signal flow here. The other part of it is I've had to admit to myself, I'm not going to be playing in any bands anymore. I'm just having fun at home. So that's where I made the decision to bring a console back in here and start working through an interface and treat this more like a studio setup. And I may start experimenting with that down the road, going directly into the console here, the SSL6, and then sending that signal through the pedal board or through 2 different spots of the pedal board, and bringing one in through this stereo input and another one in through that stereo input. So I have effectively a dry core tone and my affected tone coming in through these, and really just use the preamps, compression, and EQ in the channel strip here, and then send that signal through my pedal board as if it were outboard gear, and then out to my Prism Live Studio here. I like that idea, but some of that stuff takes time, and that's why stuff progresses so slowly for me on this channel, because I get in, I spend 20-30 minutes, maybe sometimes longer. Like right now, this stream is at 35 minutes. This is the longest I've sat in front of this stuff in a long time. This just doesn't occupy as much time in my day as it used to. If I start getting into signal routing through this console, and then the temptation right now is really to start migrating away from pedals back into outboard gear. Oh, I'm in trouble, because pedals are way less expensive than investing in proper outboard gear, but I'm loving that idea right now. Hate to say it. But as we get back to this, the Dream 65, I have an Iridium, I have an IR200, I have a Woodrow, and I have the Dream. I think those are the 4 modelers I have. And maybe one of these days I'll do a video with all of the modelers that I own. I think I'm done buying them. I'm just not interested. Recording direct isn't much different sounding than recording through one of these. But in any case, the Dream has a certain character that I like, and whatever that character is, I couldn't tell you. The reason I got the IR200 is because it has a JC120 model on it, and I have a JC120 from, I think, 1984, 1985 upstairs. But a giant amp like that is so ridiculous in this home setting here, and it sounds so sweet. The spring reverb on that is so broken in, and it sounds so good on it, and it's got all of that JC120 magic that I love. But I hate to say, you would think if anybody got a JC120 model correct, it would be Boss or Roland, and no, they didn't. It does not sound like a JC120. It sounds pretty cool, though. especially since you can choose different mic combinations and different cabinets to go with it. But the JC120 cabinet, the weird thing with the JC120 model is one of the things you buy a JC120 for is it has the chorus built in. And the version I have, I've had a couple of JC120s. I had just the head version, and one side was dry and the other side was the modulated signal, and that's what caused that Haas effect or whatever it does that makes it 3D in the room you're playing in. But they didn't include that in the IR200, which is irritating. That's kind of where the Dimension C came from. I did try the Wazacraft chorus when it came out, the CE, whatever it's called, 2W. Is it called the CE 2W? But that one, in a general way, by the way, with the Wazacraft pedals, I've been totally disappointed with all the ones that I've heard so far. The Dimension C, though, I like a lot. This one's pretty cool. That's all on a side note. But in any case, all of this is me trying to find a way to do this through the headphones without sacrificing too much of a real tube amp in the room sound, and I have not made it there yet, which is why you're seeing so many crazy changes. And again, I don't spend a lot of time with it, which is why you see some of these changes taking a long time for me to get through, because I'll do it for 20 minutes, a half hour, and then I'm done. I got other stuff I'd like to do with the missus and the family or whatnot. But having said that, let's see what the Dream. So I have this set up right now, as you can see, pretty flat. I've got no gain dialed in, a little bit of reverb, unity gain on the boost and on the output, and then bass and treble at noon. Very simple settings. Again, it's not worth trying to tweak in it. Again, I know a lot of people put a lot of time into these modelers and things, and my thought is if you crank them up, they probably give you the same feeling that a live amp does, but the whole point of having one of these is to not have them cranked up, or at least for me. And at a headphone level setting like this, it's good. I'm not complaining about it. I'm not saying it sucks. None of them suck. They all sound pretty good, but it's not the same as an amp in a room. So on the left side, I got the reverb. So I typically stack a little bit of the Dream Spring reverb on here. Makes it a little wetter sounding. There's a setting on the Valhalla Supermassive that sometimes I've been applying to the back end. It's some sort of small room setting that really does make it sound like it's a little amp in the room, whereas this reverb is just kind of a spring reverb, which doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't give you that sense of space that a good small room reverb should, because it's not a small room reverb, it's a spring reverb. But the Valhalla Supermassive, I wonder if I could load that in real quick without messing up this live stream. Let me see if I can load that in. Before I do that, okay, so that's with the Dream reverb. Not much. Again, just trying to give a little space, maybe a little, forgive me for saying it, a little drip. And then I've got the vibrato on the other foot switch. And very subtle. Again, just adding a little movement between the Dimension C and the Mood. There's so much movement going on there. I don't know what else you could ask for. All right, so I'm going to try and experiment here, and if the live stream crashes, you'll know it didn't work. But let's go into my filters here and see if my computer has enough juice in it to add the Supermassive reverb. There you are. All right, be patient here. This might crap out. organization. All right, good. I think we're still alive. Let's see here. All right, I gotta have some latency on so you can hear. Oh yeah, how nice is that? All right, test. There we go. Small and wide. It literally sounds like I'm in a room. Test, test. I'm going to take it down to about 30%. All right. Okay. So check, check, check. Yeah, way too much latency for me, but you guys might be hearing this okay. Now, in my mind, this sounds a lot like a live amp in a room. And we'll have to find out on the back end here, obviously. At least I will, because otherwise I got to deal with a lot of latency. But this Valhalla Supermassive reverb, and believe me, there's some crazy ones. As you heard in the default one, it's actually more of a delay. It's got a simple UI, and for me, I'm using an old computer here. I really don't feel like buying a computer I'm on this bad path where I'm going towards a home studio setup again, but doesn't use up a lot of my CPU, and again, I think it sounds really natural on the back end. So test. Yeah, it just sounds like a room. I kind of love that. Maybe still a little bit wet in that mix, but all right, so I guess to continue my little journey through my setup right now, we might as well take a closer look at the SSL6. And I have loosely talked about it. So for the mic, this is an AKG C530, something like that, C560, just a little condenser mic, headset condenser mic. So what I'm doing is I'm sending, see if I can show this here. All right, so through the foldback one, I'm assigning the talkback, okay, to the foldback one output. I'm bringing the foldback one output into the external one input, okay, which is right here. And that's how that way I don't have to use one of the regular channels just for talk. So, wow, we're 46 minutes in. And then obviously I can mute it or unmute it. I'm going through, so for my output on the Dream is going into channels 1 and 2 hard panned, line level, using the mic pre's to fill it out, using the compressors, actually very light compression. I don't need a lot of compression because I'm compressing on the front end. I'm compressing at the channel after the mic pre's, and I'm also using the G-Series bus compression on the way out. So that's going to kind of be the first step. I wonder if I can add a screen capture in so you can see my plugins. Wouldn't that be interesting? getting worried I'm gonna crash this thing. I wonder if I can add a new source. Let's see if there's a screen capture source I can use. Let's see here, display capture, window capture, Sprout 2 capture. What is display capture? Real full screen, okay, full screen display. Yeah, why not? What's part? Partial screen display via the display source. Select any program and capture a specific window to add to your stream. All right, let's try that. Let's just try that. I shouldn't be learning while I'm live streaming. Okay, here we go. So let's see here. What window can I capture? Automatic capture method. Capture cursor, multi-adapter compatibility. All right, so let's hit cancel here for a second. Let's open the window for my filter. Let's just try it for my finalization plugin, because this is the most interesting piece to me. So if we go to window capture, if not, maybe I'll go to full screen capture and see what happens. All right, so let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of window capture. Yep, and then let's add full screen capture. Real time. Okay. See if I can. Oh, nice. Okay. Capture cursor, filters. That's only my desktop, huh? All right, is that capturing and showing it? No, that's irritating. All right, so that only shows my desktop. All right, well, I'm getting somewhere, huh? All right, so let's get rid of that. All right, let's try part, Sprout 2 capture, browser, media source, image, color source, text, scene. All right, let's look at the scene thing. Add new source by the scene. No, cancel that. Let's try display part capture. What is that? There's got to be a way to show what I'm doing on the screen here, right? Yeah, I obviously need to do some learning before I mess with this on a live stream, I'll tell you that. All right, let's get rid of that. Now, why? This is all I want to show. I just want to show this. Clock widget, interesting. Yeah, there's got to be a way to do this here. I'm going to have to do some learning offline. In any case, I'm going into the Klevger Grand Finale, which is a finalization process. And again, just a couple minutes ago, I added in the Supermassive, the Valhalla Supermassive small and wide reverb. And the finalization process I'm applying to this is called Live Polish, and multi-band compression, global compression, stereo width, EQ, and some limiting on the output as well. Just kind of tie it together for the sake of these live streams. But in any case, did I finish going through my signal path here? Yeah, there isn't much going on here. Barely can fit everything in the frame. Time for a smaller pedal board again. I'm trying to go a little more simple. I'll tell you, there's going to be a time when I'm buying some outboard gear. I miss all my outboard gear. It's a tidier workflow. It doesn't take up space like this. I can rack it all up like 500 series stuff. All right, so that's pretty much everything. I'm just going to do a little jam. Turn the mic off, do a little jam. Just took my reverb and post down to about 20%. And I'm just trying to give it a little bit of a room treatment, make it feel or sound a little more like I'm in a live room instead of direct. can only sit for so long. All right, that's about it. Boy, I tell you what, any of you guys, man, sat through this whole thing, I think it's interesting, but hey, it's my stuff, right? In any case,